Welcome everyone. My name is Mike Imhenna. I'm going to be your host this evening. This is part of our ongoing series that we are doing with Qatar Museums and Liwan. We're excited for that series. The title of today's talk is Designing, Experimentation, and Reviving Craft. We have three fantastic guests with us to talk about this. The first is Isa Aljalahma, sorry, excuse me, who is the founder of JILID, a leather crafting brand based in Doha, Qatar. Isa founded JILID to follow his passion for leather crafting and product designing. He loves working with his hands and utilizing old traditional techniques of leather crafting, where traditions resulted in premium leather products that contain more character, more identity, and more strength than contemporary machine-made products. Currently, he's utilizing his brand to share his passion with the world. Today, JILID ships their products worldwide with a focus in the MENA region. Samir Yamani is a design curator and creative director with experience in contemporary crafts. He's curated and directed exhibitions and design collections in collaboration with prestigious institutions, brands, and designers in more than 40 cities around the world, with a special focus on the Middle East. His curatorial practice is characterized by digging deep into local cultures, leading him to work closely with local designers and artisans. He's worked on significant programs and collections and exhibitions, which include Manasa Emirati Design Platform by Expo 2020, Dubai, Postcraft collection by BD Barcelona Design, Liwan Design Studio and Labs by Qatar Museums, and Crafts Dialogue collection by Ethnic Contemporary Crafts Council in Sharjah. His work has been exhibited in many international art and design events, and we're very glad to have him. Lastly, Asma Derouiche is an interdisciplinary artist and designer with multicultural background. She's interested in Middle Eastern culture and the preservation as well as the emergence of a cultural identity. Her research explores dimensions of authenticity through reimagined cultural artifacts. Primarily through performance, her work invites the audience to interact with heritage-inspired objects in novel ways. Her most recent project was a collaborative work between designers and artisans that produced and fostered reimagined cultural artifacts, as well as promoted cultural appreciation of a Qatari product that has become important in the definition and formation of an authentic identity. Asma, Isa, Samir, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
So let's start with kind of the title. As I just, I sort of plowed through your bios, clearly all of you seem to be thinking about identity, craft, but that's from the outside looking in. So maybe let's start, Isa, with you, and then we can go with Samir and Asma in that order. Do you believe that your work is concerned with preserving craft? Is that something that you think about on a sort of daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis? And if so, is preserving really the right word to describe what you're doing?
I do believe that my work, which is leather crafting, is concerned to preserving the craft. One of the main concerns I had, which was machine-made leather products. In many cases during my corporate career, I use them daily and they break down too easily. And then I started researching on something that can last. And there I found out that, handcrafted, hand-stitched products can last generations and can be as well family heirlooms. There I started practicing in leather, and I started trying to perfect the techniques, the theory. Perhaps preserving is not the actual word. It's reviving, I would say, reviving the craft, because when the industrial period came, the crafting took a back step, and especially now, consumers are becoming more aware, and I think that like a rebound is happening to quality rather than quantity. And our work is mainly focused on creating something beautiful that can last generations to come. This is our main focus in crafting, and one of my main focuses and one of my main missions and in creating this brand.
Just to stick with you for a second, Isa,
No
when you talk about revival, are you reviving things that you knew growing up? Do you come from this world? Are you new to the leather sort of artisan world, or are you discovering it at the same time?
To be honest, I would consider myself new. Perhaps I have 5 years experience in leather crafting, but I'm still discovering, researching, trying to connect it with the Arab world. As you may know, the saddle, which is very famous in our Arab history. So I'm researching that and trying to connect my work to our history as well. And I think here is the last workshop I did with Africa inspired me even more to connect with our local culture.
Cool, amazing. Samad, let's talk about you for a second. Do you think, as I was reading your bio, maybe the first sentence wouldn't strike people as, oh, this is a person who is concerned with preserving craft, or even craft more broadly? Do you think of yourself as somebody who is professionally concerned with preserving craft? Does that make sense?
First of all, Miki, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this talk. And I would definitely use different term to describe what I am doing. In this case, I would say reintroduction of the crafts in the contemporary life. I think craft have a very strong power of communication. It tells a lot about the stories of a nation. It tells a lot about the local culture, but also it's a very powerful communication tool. So in this era where communication actually is very important and the content is very important, reintroducing and re-empowering this tool with a contemporary aspect and context, I think it's crucial. Hence, the word of preserving craft requires technically maybe totally a different, let's say, processes. That it's not what I'm doing, because I'm somehow reintroducing the crafts to the constantly changing paradigms of productions and methods and processes and materials. So merging crafts with the new materials and sustainable processes of production, or new technologies and high tech devices interacting with craft, that should not be considered as preserving, should be, from my point of view, considered reintroduction, re-exploring, and trying to make sure that craft and the craft product will have life in our contemporary life as a region, where somehow we're being, unfortunately, for a long time framed in, let's say, the context of heritage. So trying to drag that back to the contemporary life, in the contemporary use, with the contemporary context, definitely should be, let's say, presented in the way of production of the crafts. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did, but you've sort of provoked another one, which, who is the audience for that conversation? I mean, are you speaking to, you're beating this drum of, hey, we need to be rethinking supply chain and products and all these different things, and rethinking production, and you're beating that drum. Are you preaching to consumers? Are you preaching to policymakers? Are you preaching to companies themselves and brands? Who is the audience that you're really trying to convince?
In the last years, it's really impressive to see how design and contemporary crafts actually seen is flourishing around the region. So now I've been in this profession for years, but now in the latest years, becoming more easy because the design and the craft ecosystem is more shaped, it's more clear. So you have institutions, you have galleries, you have consumers, you have collectors, you have brands that are willing and working hard to be actually in the core of the craft and contemporary craft, let's say, era, which is definitely the best era that the craft actually is having in the last 10 years, let's say. It's not something that's happening in our region, it's happening all over the world. And as Isa just said, it's the time that every designer and maker can actually be part of it. So that the huge change in the design ecosystem in the region, alongside the awareness about the craft and the handmade and the context and the quality and the sustainability, craft become the tool of how we should be more aware about sustainability and about the environment and about the waste that industrial processes actually can leave. So there is a change in paradigm, there's a change of perception and a mood internationally. So this region actually is following and trying to be active in that minimum to cater their needs and to cater the people who live here and work and feel these crafts and the context of local crafts.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Asma, I want to bring you into this as well. So responding to that original question, given your work, do you feel like you are concerned with preserving craft, and if that phrase really makes sense and applies to your work, and if not, why?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this talk. Well, I definitely not preserving craft. As a designer, I am very, very interested in cultural production. And I believe that craft is an inherent aspect of the culture. So as a designer, I try to create opportunity between design and craft, and then connect them somehow, create methods and strategy between designers and artisans to share their know-how. And then it's more of re-envisioning craft and re-envisioning authenticity through designed and handcrafted objects that tell a story, that speak about the culture, that help people identify themselves. I feel like there is always a nostalgia for origin and an obsession with authenticity. And we live through objects. Objects tell story, culture, beliefs. And we, as people, we are obsessed by having objects and buying objects that are not necessarily, they don't necessarily have a utilitarian function, but we want to be surrounded by these objects because we identify ourselves through these artifacts. So I think it's important that design come together with craft and create a new platform of collaboration and a new meaning and a new authenticity, a new authentic product.
Yeah. So maybe I'll ask this question, Asma, maybe you can start and then we can open it up to everybody. But all of you are talking about contemporary craft, right? And really making some an ecosystem that is making useful products, that's rethinking the sort of externalities of the industrial system as we have it now. How can we successfully encourage and sort of stimulate that craft economy that is built, that is making contemporary, not just nostalgic little pieces of objects that are that don't have utility or don't have function? How can we actually stimulate that, and what are some examples of successful organizations doing that, or successful initiatives that you've seen in the region? Asma, maybe we can start with you. That's a big question, but I'm curious if you have some thoughts on that.
How to make successful these crafts? I think it's important to investigate the local, so wherever you are working or exploring this, you have to investigate the local circumstances and the local condition and where people are practicing these. And then through investigating that, you can then explore what are the limitations and then what are the capabilities, and then what can be possible to do, and what like I would love to give Qatar as an example, because I have been working on the locally for a while on this subject. I believe that because Qatar is a cross-cultural environment, so it's a unique environment that can create, that can be unique in the way we treat this. So for example, people, they are coming from different backgrounds, artisans, they are not necessarily local, material is imported from different countries, products are, they are made by craftsmen, but they are bought by different, like by local expats, tourists. So you would question what makes this product Qatari, or what makes it like crafted, or what makes it 100% Qatari or authentic product, because usually when a product is made by an artisan, we call it authentic, right? So then Qatar becomes a unique environment where all the non-Qatari aspects of this product becomes what makes it exclusively Qatari, because it's diversified, it's rich in its process and its story. It tells a whole story. So I think we need to start understanding the local concept and then create a story out of it, because it's important that each of these objects or initiatives tell a story for the audience, for the public, so they can start understanding these and contextualizing it, and to build appreciation for these things. I think in Qatar specifically, there have been many initiatives to work with the artisans, but it is still fragmented. Each is working by it. Like there are a variety of initiatives, but they still didn't yet come together under one umbrella, under one hub, to actually celebrate that and to create a proper or sustainable approach to re-envisioning authenticity and craft.
Okay.
I don't know if I replied.
Yeah, no, that's great. Samit, I saw you sort of like nodding your head throughout Esma's answer. I don't know if you have anything to add. What are some of the sort of investments or initiatives across the region that you've seen that may have been successful in supporting this sort of contemporary crafts economy? And have there been any? Maybe the answer is there haven't been any initiatives that have been successful.
I think here the question should be maybe the answer should be structured around two main points. The contemporary, the term that use contemporary craft economy, I would definitely try to merge it with what is the creative economy in general, rather than fragment it to this point, because design itself is a crucial component of the creative economy, and crafts that now, contemporary crafts, are totally linked to design and art it's considered somehow part of this component of the creative economy. So it's having the same treat, it's having the same mood, and it's flourishing as all the creative economy in the region are flourishing. Being and living in the UAE, it's actually very important in a very, very special time where there is a clear willing, rather politically or culturally, to empower the creative economy and to invest in the cultural infrastructure that the UAE is considered one of the most advanced maybe in the region in regards to infrastructure, rather institutions that are supporting, promoting, / preserving crafts and design, or a commercial / economic, let's say, infrastructure like fairs galleries, interior designers, architects, collectors, so that the ecosystem, and then back to the same point, the ecosystem actually is pushing the boundaries for more content that is more relevant to the region, and that is a need in the market. Hence, when there is a clear need in the market will move accordingly in order to cater these needs. And the designers here are the providers for this content and need, as well as museums and galleries and collectors. So
I have a question.
It's a chain that it's all connected. Yeah,
but because I don't entirely get it, what you're saying. I mean, I understand what you're saying, right? That the sort of the craft creative economy is the contemporary craft economy is under this broader umbrella of the creative economy. I get that idea. That's true, but I feel like there is a economic sort of inefficiency related to the craft economy that you're pushing back on. You're saying, hey, let's sort of slow down there's value in slowing down the extremely fast wheels of industrial production for a lot of really, really good strategic reasons. It enhances national identity. It has all these secondary effects, and there's less industrial waste, and there's all these different things. And usually creative economy initiatives are not focused on any of that. They're usually focused on ramping up industrial production and not really focused on the handcrafted. So I feel like those initiatives, I'd be surprised if those initiatives have the same effect on sort of the craft economy. And maybe Isa, you can chime in and sort of support Samer's point, which I would love to. I'd love to find out that I'm wrong, but maybe support Samer's point. For your work, do you feel like you are getting JILID is getting similar support as other sort of creative economy institutions?
Can I please just answer?
Yeah, please.
To jump.
No.
Crafts and designs are local SMEs, and the creative economy policies and strategies actually are built to support the local SMEs.
Sure.
I think this is a clear answer how that these strategies can really impact. The figure of the designer maker is more dominant now, or more needed. Before, with being in this region, I'm talking because I've spent most of my time in Spain, over 20 years. Here in this region, I call them the white gloves designers, that they are very fancy and they're working on their computers and they have no clue who will produce / be actually working. Now this model is not anymore cool.
Yeah.
It's happened in the cinema as well. Before, the guys who smokes, who's drinking all the time, or who's drunk all the time, and he's not respecting the law, is the cool. Now is the more sportive guy, the guy who is healthy, somebody who is in the yoga mood. So there is a clear change in values. And now the designer maker who is really worried and respecting the environment and the local culture and the material is not the model to replace the mass production. It's simply to present a different model of being in this industry. So the first part of the question is that strategies and policies of creative economy are impacting positively the sector. Yes, because the framework of that should be through SMEs. or institutions. And culture-wise, now the fact of being a young entrepreneur that is investing in local materials from the oasis is really appealing for all that content. So I don't know if I clarified.
No, that's great. That makes sense. So there are other external factors that are helping enhance the viability of those policies. Cool. That's great. Isa,
I have a different take on it, to be honest.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
to be honest, I was gonna say provoking passion. because for a crafter or a designer to be successful, one of the most important things is being passionate about it. Passion will lead to having the necessary skills to not just revive craft, but add even more value to it. And with that, with the continuous passion into your craft, you evolve what you are doing. So for example, I was having a discussion with Asma, I think like months ago, and she requested some different ideas. So I went and I re-envisioned what products I can design, and I introduced her a different mix to what I originally did. And now, to be honest, they are my best products, which I mix colors, So having the passion for the craft will lead to being successful, as well as having the local infrastructure to support it. From what I've seen in Doha, alhamdulillah, there is a huge support for designers and crafters. There is M7, which is the local hub. And under Qatar Museum as well, there is Liwan, which offers, the necessary workshops, the necessary workplace to actually create and innovate. As well as there are other entrepreneurs, such as the Farmer Market, Turba, which offer platforms for us to showcase our products. So the support is there. Provoking passion is where many people might be skilled or might be passionate about something, but they're not provoked to jump into starting it, And I always have this mentality of just do it, the Nike motto, which is just do it, because small steps, baby steps will lead to something large, and that's what's craft. That's the brand. Nothing is done fast. And one more thing, if you're passionate about something, you won't delegate a lot of stuff. You would want to, especially the important stuff, you would want yourself to be involved, and that as well will innovate the products as well.
Absolutely. I guess, Asma, please go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on that. I think it's the designer's responsibility to take initiatives, actually, because the designer's formation is more of a design thinking, it's processes, methods, theory, and it adds to the work of the craftsman or to the artisan. So it's like a sharing, it's a know-how. It's the sharing of a know-how. Sometimes the designer doesn't have necessarily the technical skills that the artisan has, but he can contribute to how the process can be or what the outcome can be, and it makes it a meaningful and equal collaboration. And then there are a lot of opportunities that can come out of that. I think that designers need to take more initiatives and need to go to craftspeople so they can experiment. And then, so usually how it works, the craftsmanship, the artisan, the first object that he makes, that's the object that he sells. As a designer, that's a prototype. And we think that we want to iterate on that, and we have to analyze it, deconstruct it, think about it, show it, test it. It doesn't work like that with the craftsmanship, so which is complete two different processes, but there is a potential in mixing both. We just have to find a common ground and a way and method to collaborate and contribute and understand each other's language, because we might not understand the design language, we might not understand the artisan, the technical skill language, but we have to create that common language that we speak to each other, which is the making language.
Yeah. Are there crafts that are sort of across the region, both in the GCC as well as across the Middle East and North Africa, that you fear are at risk of being lost entirely, that people who are not in your position may not have an eye towards? And this, maybe any of you can answer. Are there specific types of crafts that we are slowly losing and no one is really paying attention to that?
So
I think, if you allow me to answer that first.
Yeah, maybe Samad and then Asma and then Isa, if you have anything to add as well. Go for it.
This is an important issue, Mickey, because unfortunately we are living in a zone where it's a conflict zone somehow. Part of the region is in war, and the migration of people and the refugees who are living their houses, actually most of them were craftsmen. And so it depends on the country and depends on the region as well. Because of these wars, also a lot of designers and creatives are leaving their places. So it's not the losing of the craft, it's losing the people who have been working in this for a long time, that try to imagine if we want to revive this craft again, from how we are going to find these people. So it depends on the country and the context of this country and what's happening. Yes, there are standards for some crafts to be, not to be disappeared, but simply to lose the professionals and the artisans who are working, and to convince them to come back to work in that context will be really hard. And in the long-term vision, that definitely will be a big loss for so many of these crafts, especially in the countries where conflict. In the GCC, thanks God, we have these institutions that actually, I'm talking about the UAE in particular, because I do live here and I worked with them, but also in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bahrain, and Kuwait, I think. Yes, most of them, they really have good institutions that are documenting, preserving, researching, doing all the effort actually to keep this craft alive. The same happened in North Africa, especially in Morocco and Tunis. I was very lucky to work with almost all these countries, and they have these institutions that are public institutions supported by the government and working and focusing on preserving that. Hopefully, especially the Levant region, Iraq and Sudan, will find a way that these crafts could be protected. But I think first the conflicts should be solved first, then people will come back, and then artisans will come back to open their stuff, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Stability.
Say something?
Yeah, I want to, because I have been working with artisans or a few craftsmen here in Doha, and there is a technique, it's called the Sadu technique, which is Sadu weaving. And it's it's the traditional, the most traditional crafts in Doha, where women used to weave natural wool and then build their own tent. So, for example, that's a technique that is very, it's rooted in the culture. And then because people, they are not using it, because it's not being used now. So, and people, they lost interest in it. So that's why you find even the women, the few women that are now still able to do this technique, they are no longer interested because they don't see interest in their craft. I think it's very, very important that we contribute to create interest toward this. How? By creating opportunities, by showcasing it in specific places where we know that we have a certain audience coming, by knowing how to tell the story, like storytelling, power of storytelling, to create appreciation, build appreciation to these things. Apart from that, I think in Qatar, we are now very, very much aware of the need of doing this. So there are very exciting projects happening, a contemporary craft district that is coming inshallah soon. There is a vocational school where actually people, they start learning these kind of techniques. I think, yes, and getting these things from one generation to another is very important, but how to tell that, or how, because not everyone is interested in learning weaving now. It's not going to be sustainable probably the way it was before for a living, to make a living. So it has to be introduced differently. There should be different ways of doing it. I think also it's our, as designers or as as a creative director of Studio 7, this space. So for example, that piece was hand woven here in Doha by a local woman. By showing it here in the store, we really build appreciation. We really tell the story, and people, they are interested in having it in their home. I think that's our role. We have to contribute somehow, and that's what we can do, apart from many others possibilities, I'm sure.
Yeah. Isa, were you going to say something as well?
Not really.
Let me ask you for speaking about leather for a second. When people find out that you're working on JILID, what is the sort of response that you're getting? Are people surprised that this is even a thing that exists in 2022, or are you, is there a deep appreciation?
They are very surprised, actually. They even, some would say, okay, handcrafted, but do you do the machine stitched? I'm sure you do the machine stitching. And I tell them, no, this is all done by the hand stitching. And I make sure to use as less machine as possible and to stick with the original craft, because that's what lasted, 100 years or even more than that. So I think people are surprised and are attracted as well to the idea, because the industrial age have shown us that it's more about quantity than quality. And now we're trying to show that it's the quality that matters the most, and as well as design. So yeah, I think people are surprised, and there is a big demand for it. And when I said before, provoking passion, one of the ideas I was thinking about is basically competition. Competition would some would be skilled, but not have the will to actually jump in. And I find competition is a driver for many. Just a normal competition where you get crafters or designers to compete for a certain prize. This is what provokes as well passion, and what will provoke even new people to jump in and start their journey in whatever way or platform to do that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I want to transition into the quick Q&A, and then we'll have a few questions from the audience at the end. Okay, so these are 4 quick questions. We'll do it Asma, Isa, Samir in that order. So Asma, we'll start with you. What are you reading or watching right now?
I'm reading few books, depends on the timing of the day, but the one that I think is interesting that I can mention was a surprise book that I really loved. It's called the Kinship Method. And it's about a design experiment of putting together 5 designers to design 5 different chairs. And the experience was very interesting because the book inspires you to learn more about yourself as a designer, your inner designer. It's called the design psychology, like the design therapy, and how to question what you do and to understand your product and to understand your personality as a designer. And it's through analyzing other designers and their product and understanding why they do the things they do. So that's how you can understand why you do the things that you do, so you can keep doing it and improve it. I think it's a very, very interesting book. I honestly really recommend it for designers who are interested in experimental methods.
Great, fantastic. Isa, what are you reading or watching these days?
I just finished reading The Alchemist by Paulo. And actually, it's the second time I've read it. I've read it like a long time ago, and I just wanted like a recap to refresh my memories. It's a lovely book. I'm not sure if all of you have read it. It's very famous as well. And it's about following your passion, following your dreams. And it's just about a guy who raises cattle and, cattle farmer for living. And he travels from Spain to Morocco, back to Spain, back to Morocco, and then up to Egypt, I believe. And it shows you how persistent he is in following his dream. And it's really a life lesson to teach us that, it's okay to follow your passion. It's okay to follow your dream. Think big, take the step.
Great. Fantastic. Samir, what about you?
Well, this is really stressing me because, we are starting a new year. So you put your list of things you want to do on the list. That stupid thing that we do every year.
Yeah.
And I have a very bad or good habit that I have to finish the book, whatever the book is, even if it's bad. So it becomes like a suffering process if the book is not good, So I decided this year I'm going to reread the books that I enjoyed because I want to recall that passion and that pleasure. So obviously, I'm not mentioning what are these horrible books that I have to finish, but I will go to therapy just to stop. I can quit. I would accept that. I have to quit this book, and it's okay, no problem. But what is really, really interesting, and I would read it again, and this in terms of books related to design, is that a series actually of mini books published by Norwegian Crafts called Documents on Contemporary Craft. It's 5 volumes. I highly recommend it for everybody as a creator, maker, investor, and collector. It's really, really interesting, and I loved it. And it's really easy to read as well. And,
could you say it one more time real quickly, Samir?
Documents on Contemporary Craft. It says here, I'll show it to you. So this
perfect.
five volumes, very interesting, and on collecting, on museums and skills, and documents of contemporary craft, material perception and crafting exhibitions. It's really, and it's by Norwegian Crafts. So buying this book, also you are supporting the Norwegian Crafts organization. And I love reading in Arabic. I love that, and I think we have amazing writers and amazing stories to read. So I'm rereading some of my favorite books, definitely like Al-Qawqa, Khalifa, Al-Harafish, Azazil, a lot actually. But I'm doing this, I'm rereading the books. I don't know if this is smart enough, but I want to do that.
Amazing. Okay, next question, Asma. Who would you love to shadow for a day, past or present?
Isa, can you start? Let me see.
It's a tough question, true. So past meaning in history?
Yeah, anyone in the history of the world. It could be fictional as well. Who would you love to shadow for a day?
It's a tough question.
Okay. Samir, do you have anyone in mind?
I have many, but
sure.
To pick one, well, it depends on the mood, Mickey. Yeah,
okay,
if I'm
sure.
in mood of creation, I would like to shadow some of to be with the friends and the designers I work with. And I do respect what they're doing, like Umberto Campana from Brazil, for example, Patricia Urquiola from Spain. These contemporary designers that are working and they have a clear passion about crafts and creation and stuff. If I'm in a mood of being to have some fun, to understand more, it would be any Said Saleh, Samir Ghanem. Depends. It really depends.
Okay, no wrong answers. Asma, Isa, any names come to mind?
Nothing for design.
It doesn't have to be design. Is there some amazing athlete, some former? Yes, which, please tell us, any amazing athlete that you'd love to shout out for a day?
She's the fittest woman on earth. Her name is Tia Toomey, and I would love to be her one day.
Okay, so why didn't you say that from the beginning?
thought maybe it has to be design related.
No. Does not have to be design related. Okay. What's her name again?
Tia Toomey.
Tia Toomey. Where is she based?
She's Australian, but she has been the fittest woman on earth for the past few years.
Okay, oh my God. Okay. Isa.
That's a tough question for me. Still.
Okay, we can keep it going then. Okay, so maybe Samir, we'll start with you on this one. What do people most misunderstand about your work?
I mean, imagine being a curator in design and contemporary craft. I mean, no word is clear from all the profession. I think, it's always a question that I would say maybe in Arabic. يعني أنت شو بتعمل بالضبط? This question.
أكيد. Trust me, I know this question. Don't worry.
You studied design. Why you are not doing villas and chalets and buildings?
Yeah, I assume why aren't you doing villas and chalets?
Exactly. With all my respect, definitely. But it was really, this question is insisting. Now I think, thanks God, things are moving easier because of maybe social media and because of the spreading the word among the region of the role of a curator and a creative director and a designer with a cultural narrative and somebody who has the eye to tell stories through designs. I think it's become easier now to talk about it and easy. But yeah, I've suffered for years to explain what exactly I'm doing in life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. Now I think it would be why you are choosing this project and not that, more than what you do, why you are focusing on, for example, that was exported by and not doing another stuff. It might be this kind of questions now, which I do like, obviously, to be asked and to answer. But yes, I suffer a lot for that. Yeah.
Sure. Asma, Isa?
I can say, so I think so this space is a design concept store. It's called Studio 7, and we curate collections and objects from different places regionally and locally. So, so what people really misunderstood is or sometimes, most of the time don't understand, is the curatorial aspect of it. So they think that it has to be a store that sells everything. And it's very, very hard to keep it, to keep that curatorial aspect, to keep only these objects that involve a design process, that tell a story about a culture, a ritual, a material, a method, a process. So yeah, sometimes it's very hard to say no to some brand or some people, but that's why sometimes we are misunderstood as a space, as a design space.
Absolutely. Okay, Isa, do you want to add one thing?
It's a bit provocative, but yeah, it's about sustainability from my part. Since leather products might provoke some sections of the audience, and some misunderstood it, because what we do is actually helping a lot in terms of the type of leather we use, which is called vegetable tanned leather. It's the most biodegradable leather in the market. I mean, there is chrome tanning, which is not biodegradable, or would take like hundreds of thousands of years to be degradable, and that's too long. And then there is the plastic leather or the artificial leather, which is not degradable as well. However, the leather we use is biodegradable. The usage of it is from 100 to 500 years, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends on it. So it's as well perishable, and using it would save the planet from all the plastic waste of the artificial leather. Because how many artificial leather is being created every year? or can be used by a person every year. It's breakdown and you throw it and you get another one, versus a leather product that is biodegradable and will last you a lifetime. So this is the most misunderstood, I think, about our work.
Amazing. So just for the sake of time, we're going to skip the last one. We're going to go straight to the question and answer from the audience. And so the first question comes from Marianne. Marianne, if you want to unmute yourself, you can go ahead and do that. And if you don't want, oh, there you are. Go for it.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for the conversation. I've enjoyed it. And in the States, one of the issues is appropriation. It's a major topic in the arts and in the use of imagery and symbols. And I'm curious if that's something that you have to consider with your work or in your education of your audience and how you do that.
Maybe one of you can try to take a shot at that. That's a great question, Marianne.
So who wants to do it? Thank you, Marianne. I think yes, symbols is part of the narrative of any brief for a design. So yes, there is a special treat for symbols here, if I understand correctly your question. And sometimes because of the region we are working, yes, things should be tackled smartly, but also a region has a lot of symbols that were not well explained before or used or spread. So maybe through the collections or the works we are doing, it's a good opportunity to reintroduce these symbols and work with them again. But yeah, definitely it's something that I personally work and take in consideration. I don't know if I understand the question correctly.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question from Sheikh Al-Thani. For Samir, you've worked on ways to preserve and elevate crafts of local artisans and contemporary designers from all over the world, beautifully seen at Expo 2020. How do you approach your collaboration in your work?
There is, thank you for the question. I do believe, I'm a big believer in collaborations, collaborate or die. So basically there are different ways of building a collaboration, rather from the technique, the material, the approach, the narrative, the social impact of the designer. So it depends on what is the project. Is it for a museum? Is it for a gallery? Is it for expo? But normally I try to understand exactly what are the whole and holistic, let's say, analysis of the designer or the provider or the artisan, and try to find similarities and something in common or not with the collaborator, so I can build a narrative that could both of them equally, which is very important to bring the artisan to the level of the designer and say we need each other to work. So yeah, this is also a very important component in any collaboration, that they are presented equally and they are respected equally in the collection. I'm trying to be fast.
Yeah, so, no, that's great. Our final question, I'm going to have all of you answer this as fast as possible. I'm going to ask it for Kinda, if that's okay, just for time. And the question is, what is your favorite crafted piece you have at home right now? If obviously maybe there's not just one favorite, but if there's one crafted piece at home that you just absolutely love and you love to give a shout out to. Asma, I'm going to make you go first.
Decided. Okay. Oh my God. Okay, so I designed it in collaboration with an artisan, which is a prayer rag made out of leather. And this was a question that I really wanted to ask Isa earlier, but we really didn't have time when people asked him if it's hand stitched or with machine, if the fact that it's stitched with machine removed from the actual authentic aspect of it, or because nowadays, the mentality changed, the trend changed, there is machine, so it can be combined, the the methods can be combined, can be digital analog. So it's a prayer rag that is hand woven by an artisan from Souq Waqif in Doha. His name is Haytham, and it's designed, and the design is it's a parametric design that is generated by a software that we put it together. I love it because it's a pure collaborative work. It's a very equal contributions, and it's very meaningful.
Amazing. Isa, do you have one that comes to mind?
To be honest, I have an antique knife, leather knife. It's like 1920. I've got it from a closed museum 2 years ago, and I got it back into shape. And it's like I use it on my daily work, and it's just like for me, it's like a heritage heirloom. It has a good vibe from it, and yeah, I think it was made in France, the knife. So yeah, this is my favorite piece. Yeah, I didn't put my work in it, but I kind of revived it and got it back into use.
Amazing. Samir, take us away.
Well, for me, I have a beautiful rug that is 200 years old. I bought it from Liwan Maktabi from Beirut, a Georgian, rare, full of flower. Unfortunately, I cannot show it to you. It's a small one, and I'm in love with this piece. Yes, and the story behind and the change of the colors they did and the design. So this is my favorite piece in my home, Dubai.
Amazing. Well, thank you to all of you who attended the talk, and special thanks to Liwan for hosting this, as well as, of course, Asma, Isa, and Samir. This was a real fun look into an area that a lot of us don't spend enough time thinking about. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your perspective with us.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey.
Okay, everyone, this recording will go up on our YouTube and on our podcast in a few days. So if you have friends who missed it, please share it, let them know about it, and we will see you tomorrow. We have another event tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.